All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to a daily update my 1000 days challenge. This is day 252. So let's get things started. All right, so first and foremost, the balance remained the same. No new trade was actually closed. I've entered a couple of long trades, but like what I mentioned, right now is actually sort of like a range bound or consolidation phase if you look in terms of the daily chart, especially. So especially for me, when I'm using the 4-hour and 1-hour chart to trade, it tentatively tend to actually get me stop out or hit my trailing stop loss, resulting in much poorer risk to reward setup, but this is part and parcel of the game or the edge that I'm going for when I'm trading trend following kind of strategy per se. So I still don't have very strong conviction or edge when it comes to range bound kind of strategy. So there's something that I'm not very confident in trading it. There's something I'm about to explore. So let's see how things goes along the way. But in terms of price action wise, I would say, yeah, that's definitely a trade I've entered yesterday. But I've entered based on my systematic trade, so I stuck to it, and there was a sufficient in terms of the risk management wise. All right, otherwise, in terms of market update itself, on the S&P 500, it looks really strong. Actually, after the 2 days of indecision, as you will see on the daily chart, over here, you see that we decisively broke above. So that being said, I do see that this is somewhat like a parabolic phase. I'm definitely not looking to enter because if you see over here, we go somewhat parabolic, there tend to be some sort of pullback, parabolic pullback kind of thing. So the more parabolic it is, the more sharp the kind of sell-off it tends to be. And reason being is tentatively there are traders who actually traded the market and they'll be very interested to take profit when it hits particular target of theirs. So when there's a lack of liquidity or lack of buying pressure coming here, then potentially we could have a much larger retracement in that perspective. All right, and if you look in terms of Nasdaq, similarly, we are potentially going to retest the high once again. And we do retest successfully, then potentially I do hope that we get some rejection. Not that I'm bearish in terms of mid to long term, but more so that it's actually more sustainable in the sense that if we do face selling pressure, perhaps in the forms of a trader who have actually entered the low over here, or when breakout over here, they may choose to take profit right near here as well. So if we choose to take profit near here, we may face some sort of retracement, but we do consolidate near the top, then in my opinion, based on price action wise, I would lean towards further upside, then we could break towards further upside. Or alternatively, we face a very strong rejection and break downwards instead, then obviously it could speak otherwise itself. So that's something to bear in mind when it comes to price action trading. So when it comes to ASHR, I would say that tentatively you still look a little bit more bearish, even though it broke this downslope trend line, which obviously is the gradient wise is very steep. So therefore, it is tentatively that even for dead cat bounce, we will still break above. But bearing in mind that even though we are somewhat like a bearish and there is some sort of increase in terms of volume interest-wise, especially near the 20 average, daily moving average of the volume. But bear in mind that price remain rather consistent, which goes to show that there are also similar amount of buyers, just as there's similar amount of selling pressure as well. Because after the long bull run, people are still interested to get in. All right, and finally for KWEB itself, like what I mentioned with the long consolidation period, as long as price remains above here, I would still say it's still a good place to add if you have not any position yet. But for me, I'm around 80% of my position already entered. So I'm still looking for further discount if there is any. Otherwise, then I'll stick to it and I'll not be adding anymore. And I'll reserve just a couple of 10-20% usually in terms of very sharp discount when there's unexpected sales in that perspective. Yeah, especially for stocks we are a little bit more volatile, as you can see for China market itself. All right, and finally for Bitcoin itself, things seems to be resuming back towards the upward trend per se. And to me, we could potentially be saving some sort of resistance, one again at this 61K region. So on the daily chart itself, we actually formed a very nice candle yesterday, which is a bullish green, almost engulfing kind of candlestick, and volume-wise is rather decent as well. Even though overall we do see that it is trending on the reduced volume-wise, which previously I was thinking that it looks a little bit more bearish. But if you take into consideration price action-wise, actually more of a consolidating kind of a pattern. You can see that there is decreased momentum, both in terms of bearish momentum and also in terms of bullish momentum, which is actually a good sign. So if we do break above high, then potentially we could have a very strong breakout towards the upside or towards the downside. So bearing in mind that in the event that we do have some sort of nice consolidation further over here between these 20 exponential moving average and this high of 61K region, I'll be more interested to add more position, because if we do break out using this as the base, we actually have a very high possibility, and even if we don't use the wick of it, it's a very good 35% gain over here. And even if we translate over to this breakout, we could still very much be seeing around 77K region, which is extremely good. So yeah, so I'll just put these right over here as a target when you have that if we do break out subsequently, and preferably we break out on the later stage of April itself. So of course, that's to the upside. We could tentatively also break back down to the downside. We break over here. You see that tentatively in terms of this kind of strength, is equivalent to this kind of drop near to the 150 simple moving average. So yeah, so that's a full potential setup. But of course, like I say, as long as the trend remains bullish, we're making higher lows and higher highs generally, I still lean toward the upside momentum. So the 4-hourly chart over here, it's much harder to say, but of course we're breaking up towards the upside right now, but there's still many potential setup in place. But of course, if we broke below this downside, we actually do break successfully. You can see this kind of slope trend line. So we are facing somewhat like a resistance here. So if we do manage to break on this forward chart in the next 1.5 hour-ish, and I'll be a little bit more bullish, that we could definitely retest this high at this 59.8K region. All right. With that said, this will be the potential setup that you have entered yesterday. Based on price action wise, this will be my exit strategy. But of course, using my systematic trade, a different kind of exit strategy is in place as well. So yeah, otherwise, that's more or less about it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.